All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webcast, Weird Science Using InfraWorks 360 to Build Your Model. Today's presenter is Scott Hawker, an AEC Solutions Engineer with Hagerman & Company. Before we begin, I wanted to let you know that you are in listening-only mode. If you have questions during the presentation, please type them into the question panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and Scott will address them at the end of the presentation. Also, when you exit GoToMeeting, you will be prompted to fill out a survey. We ask that you take a few moments to fill that out. Additionally, all attendees will receive a certificate of attendance and a link to the recording of this presentation. Scott, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Okay, Kendall, thanks. Good morning to most. Good afternoon to some. Welcome to Weird Science, Building the Perfect Model. I don't know how many of you are old enough to actually get the play on words there from the old 80s, early 90s movie Weird Science, where they created their own model. But we're going to use Autodesk 360, InfraWorks 360 to build your model. I've had a series of questions throughout different events that we've held that what's the best way to build your existing model for InfraWorks? And Autodesk has heard this, and what they've done is they've created a software called Model Builder for InfraWorks 360. Okay, this will not be available for those of you that are using InfraWorks from within your design suites. You will need to upgrade to InfraWorks 360 in order to access the Model Builder tool. Now, one thing to be aware of is that the Model Builder tool right now is in Autodesk Labs. So this is where you're going to have to go if you have InfraWorks 360 in order to download it and access it. Okay, so Autodesk Labs, Model Builder, it's going to take you to this screen right here. Say join the technology preview. You'll be good to go. So when you open up your InfraWorks 360, what's going to happen is you're going to see the interface that looks like this. At the top, you're going to see any local models that you have downloaded from the cloud. You're going to see any specializations. Now, this is where InfraWorks 360 differs also from the InfraWorks on your design suite. You have access to additional tools pertaining to roadway design, bridge design, and Autodesk drainage design. Each of these are individual extensions, so to speak. Okay, each of these have an additional cost, I believe, pertaining to them. That would be a question for your salesperson to get the information for that. So if you so desire, please contact them, and we'll be more than happy to give you the additional information that you require. Okay, what you're going to want to do is, under Preview, you're going to want to make sure that your Model Builder Preview is highlighted in orange and moved all the way to the right. That's going to allow us access to that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to utilize information that Autodesk has put together for us. Many times it's painful. Where do you go to get your topo? Where do you go to get your roads? Where do you go to get your buildings? Like I said, to open, Autodesk has heard that. It is a little bit painful. So what they're doing now is they're rolling out Model Builder. We're going to walk through this. And what it does is it's going to take all of the information. It's going to put it together for us. It's going to create an online model, as you can see here. Down here at the bottom, I've actually got 3 of them to work from and manipulate. It's going to put all of these together, so we're going to be able to download them and utilize them for our models. And hopefully we're going to use these models to go out. We're going to win work, and we're going to become so busy we can't stand ourselves. Okay? So the first thing that we need to do is we actually need to click on the Model Builder here under Model. And I'm going to just click on that. It's going to open up a dialog box. All right. As of July the 3rd of this year, Model Builder went international. Previous to that, it only involved the continental United States and associated properties. Now we can actually zoom and access information worldwide. So if you have projects in another country, you need to put something together, you can now utilize this as well. That was really a great addition to Model Builder. The first thing that you need to do is, where do I want to go? What do I want to search for? If you have a specific area, if you have coordinates, lat longs, you can put them in here. The best thing to do, though, is to simply put in the city that you're looking for. Chicago, Illinois. Model Builder is going to zoom into that location, and then it's up to us to become more detailed. I'm actually going to go Nashville. I know we have people in the Nashville area. I'm going to talk about you guys first. I know I have people in the St. Louis area. We're going to talk about you guys in St. Louis second. So let's click on Nashville, Tennessee. And we're going to zoom in, come into our Model Builder preview. We can change the type of map that we're going to see to aid us. So I'm going to select automatic, and I'm just going to start zooming in. And I'm going to do the best I can to find downtown. It's always nice when they put that in there for us. Okay, here's the convention center. Actually, this isn't downtown. It's the Gaylord Entertainment Center, which is not quite at downtown, but this will be good enough for us. I can zoom in and out using my mouse, just as we do in AutoCAD, Civil 3D, etc. Okay. I can pan around, get it centered to where I want, and when I get to that location and I center the information, I'm going to take a look over here to the left-hand side, and it's going to tell us where it's getting the information from. Where is it getting our elevation information from? Where is it getting our imagery? Well, imagery is going to come from Bing Maps. Autodesk has a partnership with Bing Maps, so it's going to access those. It's going to bring in USGS information for our elevation. For our roads and highways, it's going to use OpenStreet, and it's also going to use OpenStreet for our buildings. Now, generally in a more urban area, you are going to have more luck accessing your buildings and getting more information than you would in a more rural area. Okay, so we're going to see this, and what it's going to do is it doesn't actually go in and grab exactly what we're looking for, but it gives a graphic representation of buildings with different heights, different facades, etc. So we can actually kind of give a general idea of what this is going to look for. So once I get to this point, I need to make sure that I've created a group. Okay, I happen to have two, so I'm just going to access one, and you can create your groups, administer your groups over here on the left-hand side, and just create a group here for your models, and make sure you enter a model name. Something simple, we'll just call it Nashville, and we'll say create model. Okay. It's going to say the request has been received. Okay, it will take up to 15 minutes to prepare your model, depending on the size of the area that you've selected here in the background. It can take anywhere from a few minutes, literally less than 5, up to the 15 minutes. If I were going into a very dense urban area such as Chicago, Illinois, it will take a lot longer for me to get the information. Now, once you get that information, I'm just going to close that dialog box. I've completed what I need to utilize the Model Builder for, and I'm going to close that. And what's going to happen is when my InfraWorks model is ready, okay, I'm going to get an email. And this is one that I've created this morning. Okay, it's going to tell you, congratulations, success. Your model has been created and is ready for use in your design. Awesome. In this case, I selected Breckenridge, Colorado, because I'm going to show you change in elevations, etc. And that's a pretty drastic change in elevation out in Breckenridge. Okay, so we're going to see that email. And I'll let you know when I get the email for Nashville, Tennessee come up, and we'll access that. Because what I need to do at this juncture is it won't automatically display in my online models. I need to refresh those online models to see when that Nashville, Tennessee will be available to me. Now in this case, it's taken a few minutes. It's not accessible to me. But when that finally comes up, we're going to select it and download it. We're simply going to click on it. It's going to ask us, do you want to continue? We're going to say OK. It's going to go through the download process. Okay. I will address that when it becomes available. It will then become a local model. As you can see, I have one for Breckenridge, Colorado, St. Louis, Missouri, lower downtown in Denver, and one for Brentwood, Tennessee, which is where our office is located. Anyone that has been to our office, even this little snapshot, that's our office right there, parking behind. It's changed a little bit since the aerial was taken for Bing Maps. There's a lot more commercial buildings up in the front of the building, but if you've ever been there, that is familiar to you. Now this is where, oh, look, there's a pop-up. My model is ready. Excellent. So it didn't even take 3 minutes. Okay. I'm going to refresh. It's going to go through the process. It's going to show up. There it is. There's Nashville. I want to download this online model so it's accessible to me locally. I'm simply going to click on it, download as. It's going to tell me where the location is, and I'm going to say download. It's going to run through the process depending on your internet connection, on how fast and how dense your model is, on how fast it'll take to download the model. Now, once it gets to a certain point, it may say that it's running through a cleanup. That is normal. We want the most accurate model that we can. It's putting all our information together. And this really doesn't take a whole lot of time either once we get to this point. Usually it's going to stop about 49 to 51%. Boom, there we go. It's downloading my model. Okay. It's performing post-download cleanup. It's processing my imagery. And when it's complete, I don't have to do anything else. It's going to automatically open up my model. Okay. So we're going to see, if you're familiar with the Nashville area, you're going to see the Gaylord Entertainment Complex, hopefully. And maybe even the Grand Ole Opry that's over there, I believe. Okay. Now it says estimating time is 4 minutes and 57 seconds. That's typically going to come down as everything is loaded up. Okay. And we're going to see the process as it actually loads it. You're going to see tiles of the area come up. It might not be one complete place in the model. You might see 3 or 4 different small blocks or tiles for access there. But what this will allow me to do now is I'm actually going to show you how we can create more detailed models. So what I have here is Google's 3D warehouse. Like I said, the buildings are going to be very generic. They're going to differ in size, but they are not going to be actual models here. Okay? So if you want to make a more realistic model, you can go into 3D Warehouse. This is the one that I use most often. Let's see if we're there yet. Okay. So right now it's starting to build my model. And that's where I mean right there by you may have more than one block or tile. That is normal. Once we get to this location, we're ready. We can simply zoom in, twist, take a look around. We can zoom into the buildings. As you can see, very generic, nothing fancy. It may plug in a high-rise if it thinks there's a high-rise there, and the information is there for that. We can rotate around. It's going to place generic roadways, typically the 2-lane road with the green space and a sidewalk. We're going to be able to access those and take care of those and change those up, clean it up a little bit. It's actually going to bring in water features. Okay. So there's our river. Actually looks like a river. The water's flowing. Excellent job. Okay. So there's the model that I have for Nashville. From this point, what I can do is I can start making it a little bit more realistic. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to close this model, and I'm going to open up St. Louis, because I've already taken the time to access the 3D warehouse, download some models, and actually place them here in downtown St. Louis. But what I'd like to do is bring back the 3D warehouse. Okay, as you can see on the splash page, you've got some models here already that you can see. Some of them are going to be very generic. Some of them are going to be amazing, such as Washington National Cathedral or even Fenway Park. Okay, now the easiest thing to do, if you happen to know the name of the building, is to specifically search for the name of the building. So in this case, Busch Stadium at St. Louis. And we're simply going to search for that model. Now we're going to be able to download a KMZ file or a SketchUp model here. Now, typically you're going to have to convert that SketchUp model into a format called FBX, which is what InfraWorks will be able to insert. We will not cover that aspect of it here, but we can do that in another webinar in the future. So it's found my model of Busch Stadium. I simply click on that model. There it is. We can't do a whole lot of moving around here, but it's going to give us a brief thumbnail of what this model is going to look like. This is where we have our options to download. So I can download the KMZ for Google Maps. Not going to do us a whole lot of good if we don't have the ability to access Google. But SketchUp 5 model, I'm simply going to download that. Like I said, make the conversion. Okay. Now, once I've got that, I can access that model and I can start to make the area that I want to create my scenario or proposal in more realistic. InfraWorks and InfraWorks 360 allows us to create 3D models and visualization so that our stakeholders, customers, whether it be the public, whether it be a municipality, whether it be the client, can see the access, maybe access capabilities to a specific site. How will a proposed project such as Busch Stadium impact the area that it's going to be completed in, etc. We can actually do that on the front end, and by doing that on the front end, we're going to be able to minimize issues on the construction and production side. Now, very briefly, I want to go over the interface here for InfraWorks, because InfraWorks prior to 2015 looked completely different. Okay, so we're going to see areas up here at the top. We've obviously have our home. We can close the current model, go back, access a different model here. We've actually got our InfraWorks tools. And in this case, because I actually do have the roadway tools and the bridge building tools accessible to me, I can access those here. We're going to be concerned with the InfraWorks tools that are within the software right here. But first I want to zoom in and give you an idea of the realism that it can add. Okay, I've gone in already. I have thrown in Busch Stadium. Okay, it's kind of generic, but still it gets the point across. Okay, I've actually gone in and thrown in the arch. If we were to have a project somewhere in this vicinity, we can make a nice little presentation here. We can fly through the arch, move through, and go towards that direction. I have the old courthouse here. Okay. I've also got the football stadium here in the background. Okay, not only the football stadium, but depending on the model that you find on the 3D warehouse, you may get not only the football stadium, but the adjacent buildings with it. Sometimes you can actually get an entire city block. For the city of Denver, there's a gentleman called Camelot that has actually created entire city blocks for accuracy purposes. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to show you very quickly how to go ahead and bring in a realistic building. So I'm going to access that information here, access my additional tools. So I want to create and manage my model. I'm going to access my data sources, and it's going to bring up my data sources palette. Great. These are all of the data sources that we can utilize and access for InfraWorks 360 to bring in the information that we need to create our very detailed conceptual model. In this case, I have a 3D model. I've already done the conversion. Okay. Placed it in a location that I'm aware of. And I'm going to bring in one met square. I'm going to place it right here. I'm simply going to say open. Now what I need to do with InfraWorks, no matter what I bring in, I need to configure my data source. So I'm going to see my configuration dialog box open. I'm going to tell it that is a building. And because most of these models are not set in a coordinate system or geographically, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to place them interactively. So I'm going to say interactive placing. It's going to take me to my model. Okay. And in this case, I'm simply going to come in and place this building as best as I can. Now, this is just a conceptual design tool. So accuracy really doesn't matter, but it would be nice to get it in the proper location. So however you need to do this, and I typically kind of just move around and we're really not too concerned, just try to match up some quarters. We're going to go ahead and double click, no problem there. Close and refresh. And now my one met square is accessible. Now again, depending on the builder of the model, they might be more accurate than others. Okay, and there are times when you're going to get situations like this depending on how zoomed in you are, etc. Okay, but now what we can do is we can utilize our existing information. It's brought in not only the aerial from Bing Maps, it's brought in our water features and given them the style. It has brought in our existing roads as best as it can, as you can see. Whoa, hello. Excuse me there. Okay. The interstate next to Busch Stadium is a little wonky. We can fix that. It's just a simple edit. We can make changes. We can access that. It's brought in railroad tracks. Okay. And in this case, it will actually bring in the topography. Now, St. Louis is relatively flat here. Okay, so what it will also do is it brings in the terrain. So that's why I've downloaded a model of Breckenridge, Colorado. Breckenridge sits in the mountains, in the Rockies, out in Colorado. And if we take a look at the information in the aerial from here, you can see the ski slopes. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to twist this around so you can get an idea of the change in topography. And how it looks from downtown Breckenridge. So it brings in the topography, it brings in the elevation, it drapes our aerials on top of the elevations. It actually drapes our road onto our existing information. And again, it will bring in buildings as best as it can so that we can take a look around. And now from this point, we can start to create our proposals. We can start to create our roadway design, any bridge design that we need or want to utilize. Okay. And we can go ahead and do that here. Now, one thing. This was awesome. It was simple. It was easy to do. It's a great starting point. You can literally use this. You don't have to go in and access the information and make sure that everything is perfect. If you have the time, that's going to help you sell your job. Okay. I have been to public meetings where the public has come in. What does this look like? How is this going to look from my house? And if you can zoom into someone's house, or you can zoom into their condo, we can tell them what it's going to look like. What is Busch Stadium going to look like from the interstate? We can do that. Most people are visual. They get a better comfort, better feel for how something's going to impact their neighborhood, etc., if they can actually see what's going to happen there. InfraWorks is a great conceptual design tool. Okay. The other process would involve going out, accessing Bing Maps, going to the USGS website. There are other websites out there that do have topo that we can download. The process is a little bit more detailed and time-consuming. Making the switch from your InfraWorks suite to InfraWorks 360 is going to make this a far more efficient type situation when it comes to creating your models. Right now, Model Builder is in the labs. I foresee it going into the actual software probably in the next release. I do not know anything definite to that plan, but most of the folks that I have talked to feel that this is a really efficient, very powerful tool that can be utilized very quickly, get you to a very quick conceptual design situation here. Literally, if we had a meeting this afternoon and someone wanted to see some information here in Breckenridge, we could set this up, throw in a building, and be able to show how that's going to impact our existing site. Throw that in front of the client, and we've got a color presentation, and we've got something that's going to knock their socks off. So again, InfraWorks 360, very powerful conceptual design tool. We're also able to, once we're in here, we're able to export Civil 3D, our roadways, etc. So it's a great little tool, not only conceptual design, but once you utilize that and pair it up with Civil 3D, man, it even becomes a more powerful design tool because we can actually utilize our conceptual design information, export that to Civil, and we can start cranking away and producing production drawings. Okay. And actually, Kendall, with that, I'm going to turn that back over to you for any questions if we have any.
Scott, I don't believe that we have any questions at this time. We're going to go ahead and leave the question panel open for anyone who wants to submit. And if we don't have any questions in a few minutes, then I'll wrap things up. Well, it doesn't look like we're getting any questions, so I want to thank you, Scott, for a great presentation. This concludes our broadcast today. If you have any additional questions, simply reply to the confirmation or reminder email that you received from GoToMeeting, and we will route those to the appropriate parties to get your questions answered. Also, you will be receiving an email containing a link to the recording of this presentation. Once again, if you could please take a few moments to answer the short survey, we would appreciate it. It will automatically appear when you close the session. Thank you for attending today's webcast, and have a great day.